Greetings. Thank you. Welcome one more time and again to Safe Space Talks Mind Mastery. And I have Dr. Charlene on the line with me today. And, we're going to talk about self care part two. I was rushing last time because I was tired. I have to be honest with you. I was talking about reduced stress, and I had to reduce my time so I could reduce the stress of doing this show. It takes a lot. But today we're just going to really go through some light stuff. But I wanted to touch on some things and topics that can affect us in our daily life, such as feeling shame, feeling anxiety, and then anger. And it came to me because, just the news and everything that's going on, these wars, inflation, high interest rates, a lot of people are starting to feel the crunch. And so if you lost your job, you may feel some shame of not knowing how to provide for your family, or don't even want to tell nobody, or you just feel uncomfortable. And men and women, we are out here trying to provide for our families, and it appears as if it's getting tougher and tougher. But the Bible says, right, that if something's going on, we confess one to another. This takes away the shame. Shame is that place where you feel, right? I believe it's just how you feel about the situation, and you're hiding. You may even start doing things that you normally don't do when you're having to deal with shame, like drinking, isolating. And you keep drinking, you can get addicted. Now you're an alcoholic. I'm moving fast. That's not how the process goes. But I'll let Dr. Charlene jump in here and talk about a little bit about shame and where it comes from, and some signs and what you can do to kind of overcome that.
All right, all right. Well, once again, thank you, Nigeria, for bringing me back here with Safe Space Talks. This is an outstanding forum that you have here. This is an excellent space. And the thing I like about it is you know how to keep it real. So this
Yeah.
is a place where you keep it real.
Right.
Your guests keep it real. Everyone feels like they can just kind of let their hair down. And,
Right.
just relax, listen to you or watch you on YouTube or
Thank you
however
so
they're
much.
streaming you.
Yeah.
So this is first and foremost. I'll always like to thank the host and really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
for actually opening this space up for us here so we can have a voice.
Yeah.
As practitioners, it's so important to be able to share this information and knowledge. And I know you talked a little bit, touched on shame, and it's awful when we are in those spaces where we feel depressed or doubtful or shameful,
Yeah.
or even when it comes to mental health. There's a big stigma, right?
Right.
About, I'm afraid to talk to someone, or are they going to think something's wrong with me? Or, I don't want to share my feelings. I'm shameful about sharing my feelings. I don't want others to know what's going on because,
Right.
oftentimes, a lot of people might compare themselves to the next person,
Right.
right? And then that's another thing that turns them into having that shamefulness and doubtfulness because they're looking at what other people have, right? From the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Wow, my good friend has this, or their brother or sister has that, and
Mm-hmm.
why don't I have that?
Right.
That's a awful and kind of toxic trait, to have that
Right.
shamefulness, and if you're talking about comparing it to others, in comparison to others, oftentimes I share with my patients when they're opening up about their shame and their doubt and their worthlessness, it
Mm.
always kind of stems around comparisons.
Yeah.
That's a bottom line. A lot of it is comparing themselves to others, or maybe comparing themselves to, am I at the right place in my life? Like,
Yeah.
should I be further advanced? Or should I, what's going on with me? Or why am I like this? So there's a lot of things to unpack, right? When we're talking about this shamefulness and doubt and feeling worthlessness. It's a lot to, what we say, peel back the layers. Like when
Right.
patients come to see me at Mind Heart Institute and Wellness Center, I tell them, we're going to take a little journey, and during our journey, we're going to peel back some layers and see what's going on, and kind of try to uncover how, the root of the cause. Like,
Yeah.
why are we feeling this shamefulness and doubt?
Yeah. And one of the things is when you're in that place, how you speak to yourself and about yourself. You
Yes.
can't, one of the ways that we defeat ourselves all the time is how we speak to ourselves. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to speak to shame and tell shame to go away, that I'm
Yes.
not going to accept that. I am better than my current position. It's
Mm-hmm.
not permanent, it's just
Mm-hmm.
a temporary situation. And,
Yes.
like you said, stop comparing yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has flaws. Everyone
Yeah.
has a hiccup in life. Life just be life. Everyone is going to
Yes.
error. We are not perfect
Mm-hmm.
beings. No matter
Yeah.
how hard we try, how we want to be, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
We're just
Yeah.
not. That's why we need Jesus, because we're just not. We're not going to get it right. And we thank God for his grace and his favor. So,
Mm-hmm.
practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
and finally, of course, seek support. You know, for example, say Dr. Charlene, they want to seek support and they would come to you. What would be like an intro?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked how that process will work. So typically, a lot of different people or potential clients find me numerous ways. Oftentimes, I get a lot of referrals. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the first introduction.
Hmm.
Patients have come to me because maybe their primary care doctor has referred them to me, or even I've gotten patients from different types of programs and treatment programs, and they
Right.
need follow up care. I might have gotten a patient from an alcohol recovery program
Right.
referral, or they came to me after they completed their eating disorder clinic outpatient outpatient process or program, and they've been
Mhm.
referred to me for further assessment, further treatment. So first of all, oftentimes I see patients via referral. Now, other patients come to me and they have sought me out. So they've done like an internet search. They can find me like on Psychology Today. So
Right.
oftentimes I get a lot of referrals that way after people just did a Google search
Hmm.
and looked at what I could serve. And that's how they've reached out to me through those different channels. So that's
I
kind of
like
the
that.
first step.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
just
like
kind
that.
of,
Sharing Google search,
mm-hmm.
referrals are key. We're
Yes.
actually here at Safe Space Talks My Mastery building a
Uh-huh.
membership base. So soon I'll be telling y'all to join us so that
Yes.
we can give you the proper referrals, because it's hard
Yes.
when you're in that difficult space. you
Mm-hmm.
know let's move to anxiety. So,
Yeah.
what do you do when you're anxious and you're having these
Mm-hmm.
anxiety attacks and you don't
Yeah.
really have the time? I love talking about the time where I was having a crisis in my life, and I call
Mm-hmm.
on the phone and they're like, um, I have no one available until, let's say it was January 5th, and they're like, I don't have no one available until February 26th. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in crisis mode. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And then you guys say stuff like, well, if it's an emergency, then call 911. Like, no, I'm really trying to
Yeah.
get help. I didn't want to call 911, but if y'all got to wait 2 and 3 months to see you, I might have to
Yes.
call 911. And that's disheartening. So we want to
Yes.
build a referral based team that at least you can contact us at Safe Space Talks
Mm-hmm.
at gmail.com. And as we continue to prepare to build our website, have a referral in place that, as Dr. Charlene was saying, referrals, so that we can take some of that sting out. Because if I'm
Mm-hmm.
mentally incapacitated, I don't have time to Google.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't have time to be
Absolutely.
Googling and double checking to
Yeah.
see, who's able to help me. But, you
Mm-hmm.
can talk some more about that and just, you know,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. When you said that part about, you don't have time, you're in like that crisis mode. I also have a lot of family members who help the person in crisis make that appointment. So if you know someone in need, family, friend, mother, father, sister, brother, child, whomever, help them out. I've had a
mm,
lot of patients that I've seen where their family member has stepped in to help them get an appointment or help them call me to establish care with
I
me.
love it. I
Or
love it.
they've helped them to fill out the intake. We have an
Yeah.
online intake process with paperwork. So they've
Yeah.
assisted them with getting that
Yeah.
paperwork done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it takes a village.
yeah. And see, this is
Mm-hmm.
why I say we can't be dismissive. We can't just
Right.
dismiss people because they're having an issue. We can't
Yeah.
dismiss people because, they're having a mental crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you're saying, friends, family,
Yeah.
somebody who cares enough for you will step in. And we thank God for
Yes.
those caretakers who,
Mm-hmm.
even to the caretakers, salute to you, but also don't forget that you have to take care of you as well. And
Yes.
we have to know that being having being anxious, our thoughts begin to roll, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have those catastrophe thoughts. We're gonna ruminate, go back to some of
Mm-hmm.
the videos and watch. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about this stuff.
Yes.
Your mind is just everywhere. You're uneasy, you're worried, you're
Mm-hmm.
nervous, but just know you're not alone. And this is
Right.
just how our body responds to the stressors of life.
Mm-hmm.
And there is help. And
Absolutely.
you don't have to be afraid. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I say that because when you're anxious, sometimes fear will set in. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
those catastrophe thoughts come in because now you're fretting, right? So now you're
Mm-hmm.
stressing, right? And you're
Yes.
becoming overwhelmed and you don't know how to put a stop to the rapid firing of these catastrophe thoughts. And really, you can make yourself ill. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talk about that a little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah, yeah. I always like to, pull from my resources and let
Come
folks know where they
on.
can go and get their data. So, that's a part of me. I'm also, in addition to being a psychiatric dual certified family and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, I also teach full time at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. So I teach nursing students. So I'm always looking at data, evidence
Mhm,
based medicine,
mhm.
evidence based practice, and I always like to pull from resources. So this is from the National Institute of Mental Health. So, like you were saying, talking about stress and anxiety, they're two different things, right? They're two different things. So, that stress is that response to that external cause,
Come on, bring it.
right?
Mhm.
Yes, yes, that's right. And then anxiety is that internal, that internal
Yeah.
feeling that you get when you're feeling overwhelmed and everything. So when we're talking about that external stress, that could be like if I'm talking to a student, it could be a stress related to taking a test, or if I'm talking with a friend or a family or colleague, it could just be having an argument with a friend or family or something like that. So that's that stress.
Right.
And that stress that goes away once that situation is resolved. So
Okay.
that's kind of how you can kind of say, well, what's the difference? What
That
is
was good.
stress? What
Yeah,
is
that's
anxiety?
good. Right.
So once that situation is resolved, then that stress can be gone. And of course, we know stress can be positive or negative.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's a good thing that helps us, get where we need to go.
Right.
But then it also be some kind of a negative. For example, the National Institutes of Health mentioned that it may inspire you to meet a deadline, or it may
Mm-hmm.
cause you to lose sleep. So that's kind of that difference
Right.
between stress. Now, I see a lot of patients for both stress and anxiety. So, the National Institutes of Mental Health mentioned that anxiety usually involves that persistent feeling of like apprehension or dread. And you mentioned that
Right.
too, like
Right.
those catastrophizing thoughts and the
Right.
ruminating thoughts, things come to
Yeah.
constantly going on and on. And it doesn't go away. And it interferes with like things as far as like your daily life. So
Right.
that's kind of how you can tell the difference between the stress and then that anxiety. That anxiety tends to stay.
Yeah.
And that stress is more situational. So for
Okay.
example, I often have patients that come to me with work related stress,
Right. Right.
and it's a lot that goes on
Right. Right.
in the work,
Right.
and work through it. We talk about how can you overcome this work related stress. What kind of steps do we need to take to help you continue to move forward and be a positive influence on others in your workplace, so because it's so important. You're at work longer than you're home with your family and your friends. So
Right.
even if it's working from home, you might be on your computer working from home longer,
Yeah.
but you're engaging with your family and friends. And you, like mentioning before, you might have stress related to some of those work related situations.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought up the differences and opened up that conversation,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we could dive a little bit deeper into stress versus that anxiety.
I hope y'all caught that because that's good.
Yeah.
And, sometimes we call a thing. Remember, I said, stop saying you're depressed when you don't really even know if that's what you are. You could just need some vitamins, some water, or some
Hmm.
sleep.
Yes. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. That
Meanwhile, you
sleep is
running around talking about,
so important.
I'm stressed, and you're not.
Mhm.
You probably might just need some rest. And
Yeah. So that's
yeah,
managing that stress. That's managing that stress and anxiety. Like you mentioned, making sure you're getting your sleep, making sure you're drinking your fluids, your water like you're
right.
supposed to, making sure you're doing, if your doctor tells you to get on a Mediterranean diet, making sure you're on the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
So all of these things are good. And I always talk about, my first degree was in physical activity and fitness, exercise, sports science. So I always lean back or pull back from some of those things that I learned in my first degree program about physical activity and fitness is so important. And
Right.
it's so important to keep your mind going, keep
Yeah.
that blood flowing, right?
Right.
So you keep the blood flowing, keep your body in motion. That keeps that mind moving positively,
Yeah, and
So all of these
especially since
things.
we always sitting at the computer, even now, we're,
Yes.
constantly sitting,
Yes.
gazing at the computer all day. Learn to
Mm-hmm.
take a break. You have to take a
Yes.
break. You're working at the
Yes.
computer, you're working at your desk, you're eating at with the computer, you're on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
you're on social media, you know.
Yes.
But make sure you tune in Wednesdays at 12 p.m.
12.
Eastern time to make sure you catch up on some tips that we can help you
Mm-hmm.
with definitely taking care of yourself because self-care is key. And as we always
Yes.
say when we use the analogy of the airplane, you got to put your mask on first and then
Mm-hmm.
help others. And so we'll move right
Yes.
into all of this, feeling shame, moving you into characteristics that's not your norm,
Mm-hmm.
understanding anxiety and the
Mm-hmm.
difference between anxiety and stress,
Mm-hmm.
and you know reaching to this point, and this is why I have Dr. Charlene on with me. I
Mm-hmm.
think anxiety is the only one I believe is the medical diagnosis, correct? Anger and shame is not. That there's no
Yeah,
diagnosis of that.
oftentimes I have a lot of patients that that come to see me, and they get diagnosed with like generalized anxiety disorder.
Right, right.
Um, because of having a prolonged history of increased anxiety, and stress related um, illnesses, and
Yeah,
sometimes people have like panic attacks and all of those things. So
right,
absolutely. So it's so important to try to manage these things, and if you get to a point where those non pharmacological things you're doing isn't helping, then it's time to talk to your provider and get some type of pharmacological some medication to help. So I'm a proponent of doing things as much as you can without adding in additional medications. That's
right,
why I say non-pharmacological things that you
right.
can do, like Nigeria was mentioned, making sure you uh, got up and when you're sitting down at the desk, make sure you're taking a break and walking around and eating healthy and going and getting some sleep. All of those things are so important. But when those things are that you're doing are not helping completely, then you make sure you follow up with your primary care doctor,
Right.
follow up with your psychiatrist, follow up with your psychiatric nurse practitioner like myself to ask for some
Mhm.
additional support.
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
yeah, our last topic before we wrap up is anger. Because I
Ooh.
just recently went on a trip. Okay. And
Oh
let me
no.
tell you
Tell us
something.
about. I want to take
Flying,
my glasses off for
no,
this.
flying has become a whole new dynamic. I know we hear
Uh-huh.
the fights on social media, but it's
Mhm.
real. I kind of sometimes be thinking that they playing or they just want likes or clicks or want to go viral. But
Mhm.
traveling has changed. I mean,
Mhm.
and I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about
Mhm.
why the stewardess got to keep telling you to turn your phone off and put it on. And this one guy was
Mhm.
just not listening. And in my mind, I'm like,
Mhm.
sir, please
Uh-huh.
don't make her open this door and, dismantle this plane because you're not listening, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Immediately I'm praying like, Lord, please let him obey. Please let him
Mhm.
obey. But I was shocked and appalled at how many times the stewardess had to
Mhm.
speak to an adult. I'm not
Mm.
talking about children or a teenager. I'm
Mhm.
talking about
Mhm.
adults. And they
Adults.
were frustrated and I saw a lot of anger. So I
Mhm.
know uh, that you can't be walking around being angry.
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
So don't let anger control you. Address
Mhm.
it and
Mhm.
find out what is making you so angry. And
Yes.
you have to communicate. Okay. You can't
Yeah.
just bottle everything up and try to
Mhm.
settle that matter quickly. Whoever
Yeah.
made you mad, whatever made you mad, why
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
mad, settle
Yes.
it quickly. Okay.
Mhm.
Anger is a
Mhm.
is a signal that something is wrong and it needs to be
Mhm.
addressed. And the
Mhm.
quicker that you resolve it,
Mhm.
then the better you'll be and it won't escalate. You won't be leading to something that's going to escalate. Now, anger is an uncontrolled feeling of hatred, someone who clings to hateful feelings. So be careful when we
Mhm.
talk about our haters, right? Um,
Yes.
hateful feelings towards others, and anger seeks revenge. So try to
Mm.
figure out what's going on in your mind, right? Now,
Yes.
the dictionary says, because that was just me, letting you know some forms of anger and what it is. But the dictionary says a strong feeling of annoyance. So be careful when people say, you getting on my nerves and you annoy me. That's a sign they're gonna
Yes.
hear it. They're getting ready to get angry at you. Okay.
Yes.
So a strong
Yes.
feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. It's a person without self control, which is a fruit of
Mhm.
the spirit. So let's all try to, be mindful how we address things and control our anger. Dr. Charlene,
Yes.
please let them know how the body responds because, we talked about stress and anxiety and panic attacks, but
Mm-hmm.
anger can really do your body wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. So one of the things I kind of share with my patients or clients that I see is it's important for them to, if they find themselves stuck in those situations where they are angry or having like difficulty working things out with family members. Often, it's often a lot, with family members or family dynamics, or having tough times having like difficult conversations with family or friends, or
Right.
having anger in the workplace. I oftentimes tell my clients, let's keep our anger management like journal. Let's keep a journal,
Mm.
right? So
Mhm.
I have them start to write everything down. Like, I tell them, let's talk about like what happened before. Like, where were they in that space before they got angry? Like,
Right.
what was going on, right?
Right.
And then the immediate time, that instinct where they get mad, I tell them write that down. Like what happened, when you got mad, and then what was your reaction? So after you
Mhm.
got mad, how did you react to all of this?
Mhm.
So I like to do that because they're able to kind of keep a journal, and then we can go back and look at it and kind of analyze, like, okay, where were we mentally? What kind of
That's
headspace
good.
were we
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
before all of this happened? Were
Right.
we feeling good? Was it, were we
Right.
feeling all
Right.
right? A lot of times this anger also happens like with road rage. Like you could be like driving down the
Wow.
street, listening to your favorite song, and then all of a sudden someone's honking the horn, and then it's
Yeah.
it's it's it's
Especially
going
in New
downhill
York.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So I tell my clients, let's start keeping this journal so we can go back and kind of look at things and see how we can react differently to the anger that we had in that moment, because sometimes
Right.
it's just like right there in that moment. We have anger and that rage. And like you mentioned, that's not healthy for your body
Right.
on the inside,
Right.
right? It leads to some very unhealthy signs and symptoms. So it's important for us to start keeping a record of it, track it, talk about it, and try to work through even situations. Like talk to your family and friends about, like, how can I handle this situation differently the next time? And then that way that can help someone kind of work their way through this anger.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and just self examination. I love when the Bible
Mm-hmm.
says, examine yourself,
Yes.
examine you.
Yes.
Everybody's
Yes.
so projective. Well, you did it.
Mm-hmm.
No, examine you. Okay.
Yes.
Worry about you. Right.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So,
That's right. Examine, and that's what they're doing when they're writing that down. They're examining themselves, and they didn't, once they look back at several different types of like instances that these different situations happen, it's kind of like an eye opener. Like, wow, I didn't realize this is how I look to the
right.
opposite person in the situation. It's like a reflection, right? It's like they're able to kind of self-reflect and kind of see what's going on
Yeah.
in that moment, kind of real time.
Yeah. So we want you to just, as we wrap up, don't allow the pressures of life really alter your whole life because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about mental health and mental wellness. And it's
Mm-hmm.
these little foxes that come in unaware, shame,
Yeah.
anxiety, anger, that can really, I mentioned you're in shame and now you making bad choices like drinking. I use that. You can start
Mm-hmm.
doing drugs to camouflage it.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety, you can start, just making bad decisions, shopping too much, spending money you really don't have. And so,
Mm-hmm.
these are things that's leading you down this rabbit hole. You can get
Yeah.
angry, take it out on the wrong person, and
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, child, they shooting and stabbing and fighting and beating and
Yeah.
get yourself in a situation that if you just was able to have that self-control, you
Mhm.
would have, made it home and not to the hospital. And
Yes.
so, again, shame, anxiety, and anger. If you are dealing with any of these symptoms, definitely, again, shame, anxiety, and anger. If you are dealing with any of these symptoms, definitely, as we say here, we're educational, informative, but definitely go see a medical professional and let them know, if any of these signs or symptoms or issues that we spoke about today, you feel like, oh, that's what I was feeling. Oh, okay, that's what was going on with me. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
feeling a little agitated and angry for no reason. Because it's always for
Mhm.
no reason. I swear, I'd be like, you mad for no reason. Because you need to
Mhm.
address it. You need to figure out,
Yeah.
why are you mad? Why are you feeling
Yes.
shame? Why are you feeling this anxiety? And so ask yourself these questions each and every day. You know me, I'm all for, second and third level questions. People are
Mhm.
always like, well, I ain't want, no, 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 no. You have to ask the question. Okay, you can't just
Mhm.
let it fly by. That's what causes stress. Okay,
Yeah.
you have to
Yes.
ask second and third level questions. And this is if
Mhm.
you're serious about your mental health, right? If someone
Absolutely.
did you wrong, you can't just hold it in and just
Mhm.
ruminate, get anxious,
Yes.
get angry, and be like, no, okay, I didn't understand. Can you just let me know why you feel this way, or what did I do, or how can we reconcile? I'm all for
Mhm.
reconcile. I'm all reconciling. I'm all for
Yeah.
conflict and resolution because, you know, that's what Christ is the
Mhm.
reconciler, right?
Yes,
He's the
absolutely.
restorer of the breach. So I cannot be a Christian and never be in a
Yes.
position where I'm ready to reconcile any differences. So I say that
Mhm.
to say we love you here and we want you to be
Yeah.
the best version of yourself. And we're
Got
here.
that
And
right.
like I said, you can always reach out to us. We're here every Wednesday at
Mhm.
12 noon on our YouTube
Yes.
channel. And tell your friend to tell a friend, and please share. Please share.
Tell
You
a
never
friend.
know who else you're going to help. And we have loads of professionals like Dr. Charlene on here. And, like I said, we're definitely going to build a resource where we will be the champions of this movement. So I love
Mhm.
me some y'all. And
So listen, before you wrap up, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
come on, come on.
Wait a minute. I always like to share this before we wrap up, and I always have to read it verbatim because I don't want to
Okay.
mess it up. But
Yes.
if
Yeah.
you're experiencing a life-threatening emergency, feeling in deep distress, or have thoughts of hurting yourself or hurting others, please go to your nearest emergency room or call 988 for emergency services. So I always like to share that. And
Yes.
then there's a National Suicide and Crisis Helpline,
Yeah.
and that's I like the text line. It's text 741 and it's free and it's 24/7. Is a confidential text message service for people in crisis. And also, Nigeria, I did want to share with the viewers that if if they live in the state of North Carolina,
Yes.
feel free to reach out to me at mindheart, MINDHEART, IWC.com. So that's mindheart, MINDHEART, and they can go to that website. My phone number's there. They can
Yeah.
schedule an appointment with me. They can give me a phone call. I see patients across the state of North Carolina for medication management, psychotherapy, all of those things, group therapy, anything that you need, I got you. Oh, also Nigeria, I
Yeah.
am coming to Virginia and New York in the future. So hopefully first of the year, I'll be able to service those clients as well, virtually.
Yeah. And she's always gonna be here. Just
Yeah, yeah,
FYI. And you can reach out to
yeah.
us and we'll it's family. Don't worry about it. If you need her, you let me know. I'll let her know.
We'll connect
we're
you.
all connected. But
Yes.
thank you, and all her information's on the video and stuff. So we
Yes.
definitely want you to reach out to her if you need some help, if you're in those areas. And like I said, she's definitely on the team, and so she's definitely one of the contacts